You know, as I look around this room, and I'm so aware that every one of us has been on a different path that has got here as today. But I know that every one of us here shares the same all-consuming, deep, fundamental passion that every child in our community deserves an opportunity to grow up healthy, strong, and successful, and that is what brings us all together. I know I started on my path 30 years ago when I started working at the food bank, just because I've always believed that if kids have the right nutrition during their critical growing years, then possibly they have the chance to grab the first rung on the ladder.
So I think it was author James Joyce who said, "History is a nightmare from which I'm trying to awaken." And I think we can say that the school food program to some extent has been a nightmare. And we're awake. We are awake now, and Congressman Farr is going to help take us to the point where school food becomes our dream.
The problem is that throughout history, whenever you spend any money, you devise a program for it, and then you want it to be accountable. And what we have devised over time is all these categories of feeding. Breakfast programs, snack programs, lunch programs, after-school programs, dinner programs, all of them designed separately. All of them requiring that you prove that you can get in. I was thinking coming up here, and that it's easier to get in the Marine Corps than it is to get a free lunch. That's all wrong.
And the kids with cash go to the a la carte line, and pretty soon it becomes clear to everybody. And then the federal meal, the one that's nutritionally structured, gets a reputation for being just for poor kids. That's county food, that's welfare food. And then the kids for whom that is an option, the kids who are, they've gotten into the Marine Corps, they've gone through the certification and application and verification and counting and claiming process, then they don't want to eat it either. So it undermines the program, and for those who are hungry enough to eat it, it adds a seasoning of shame. And this is not what we want to do to young people. How crazy is it to create a ranking based on povertyness, on inability to pay, and have that the basis of shared meals? Shared meals should be what bring us together.
And what we want to do is have a conversation with all of you at your tables. You'll all be exploring the same two issues together. And that is, what are your thoughts around a universal school food meal plan? And what are your thoughts around funding mechanisms such as a soda tax? And the exciting part about all this is we're going to come back together after a half an hour, and we're going to hear report backs from our table hosts that are going to touch upon the two key questions, the two key concerns or challenges your group has identified, and furthermore, the resources and information your group has devised to address those challenges and questions. And beyond that, what creative next steps does your group envision?
We spent a lot of time talking about how do you shift the culture of universal eating in a school. You have your kids who line up to buy food, and in some of our schools we've actually already taken care of the social stigma of free and reduced lunch kids and cash-paying kids. But now we still have another divide between the kids who bring their food and the kids who are buying their food at school. And Angela Meeker at Branciforte Middle School is piloting some ideas around social eating of all of those kids at school. And if we can get that started, then we can start to drive the idea towards universal eating from the social cultural place.
Just getting rid of the bureaucracy of the current program would free up a lot of time for the creative food directors to do other things, and that alone would free up resources that would help achieve this goal.
Some of our folks were from PBUSD, and they said, but here's the issue. If you actually raise some money for schools through the soda tax, how are you going to determine which of the competing interests currently are going to get it? Is it going to be pencils and paper for the classroom, or are you going to put the money into food, and who's going to make that decision, and how is it going to be regulated?
One of our major concerns was, well, how are we ever going to get kids to eat this food? And in fact, children eat what they prepare. And so if we could be replicating a kind of a program, if we had school kitchens where children were involved in preparing the food that they would be expected to eat, they would eat that food.
A resource that we had heard about and has been explored by a parent at our table was the Berkeley Unified Schools has a universal breakfast program that we should go look at. It's already been looked at by Santa Cruz Schools. Ann Cooper started that there, where all children eat breakfast in the classroom, a meal. Even if they had a small meal at home before they came, everyone's starting, and it allows kind of blood sugars to be even, and they learn better together.
One of the things that was brought up that I thought was innovative was the whole issue of national security. It is impossible for a country to be nationally secure unless its citizenry are healthy, well-fed, and in their youth are.
In our soda tax discussion, there were a few people that had reservations about whether it was a good idea, whether we should be using a tax on a food that's clearly has negative health consequences to promote nutrition education and to feed kids like this. There might be sort of a mismatch there, but we wanted a little more information about the model, the tobacco tax sort of that this is built on, to get some information about whether that has decreased smoking rates and whether that an increased tax on soda would pull down the numbers of people drinking soda. We wanted some data about that. It does. Nodding, fervent nodding from the side of the room. So that's great.
We wanted to build a community. I think one way to do it is pass it through Congress and get all these things done, but I think it has to be community action that's going to make a difference for us. And that involves partnerships with schools, with businesses, with particularly agribusiness, which is incredible in this county, in supporting Second Harvest Food Bank, for example. We need to tap into those resources. They're essential, I believe.
The other thing is that a lot of you in the room are already doing great things, and we don't know what they are. So great things are happening, so maybe we need to do a needs assessment to find out, like Davenport was mentioned, and we know that Davenport, now that they're a small school, but they've got a really niche market on how to feed children vegetables every day. They eat communally, kind of like what Jan was saying. They all eat together. It's a lovely, if you've never gone to Davenport and seen how they eat, it's a must trip. So how do you replicate that throughout the county?
That's why I think the adults have to be in charge, and in order for the adults to be in charge, in order for school food service menu planners to have the freedom to serve the healthy food we want them to serve, we got to quit selling food to kids, because as long as the model is the kids are our customers, we have to give them what they want, we have to give them what they buy. They're going to choose the things that advertising has steered them toward, and that's not healthy stuff.
I think everyone here, we all recognize that when we, as a community, as a collective, malnourish our children, they fail to thrive. And that we have stolen from them what is most precious, the opportunity to grow up healthy and successful. And what a waste.
So not only is the need for good school food up because more families are at risk and more children are hungry, 17 million children in the latest survey are living in households that are designated as food insecure. Not only are there more children in need, but the recession makes the data on hunger credible to more people. And when people believe that a problem is real, that's when you can enlist them in helping to solve it.
The real question is, will we do it? I really think that's the real question. It's not can, it's will. I'm going to take a moment to tell you why I believe we can fix school meals. Number one, Sam is the man.
So there is a revolution going on. It's a revolution from the bottoms up, which are school boards, and what the revolution is starting to be because of people like you in the room, and particularly the parents that are here in the room. For years you've been asking your school board members who you elect, tell us what you're teaching our kid in the classroom. For the first time you're beginning to say, and tell us what you're feeding them in the lunchroom. And when the politics of school boards is as interested in the lunchroom as it is in the classroom, indeed the revolution will be on.
Biggest buyer of